Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Xaereth Prevails, a Grand Arena story. We're still doing our 3v3 kick, which is a lot of fun. We're in the finals of our third group right now, and I'm using a different screen and screenshot just because I'm too lazy to go back and get one. I must have forgotten to take one initially, so there you have it. I'm up against a really strong opponent. He has a lot of really strong squads and a lot of strong, basically everything. And you can see his lifetime score is actually like really close to mine, so it's going to be a good match. You can see that I actually have a slight advantage in at least some of my relics, though I would say probably not that much, honestly. You can see that I have one more tier 7, but then he has 3 tier 6, and I have 0, so anyways, looking at gear, I have the slight edge in gear 13. He has more gear 12, however. I do have a couple more Zetas. And then mods, my opponent actually beats me pretty soundly. 6 more at plus 20, that's pretty strong. And then if you look at our overall lifetime banners, really close to each other. So they've gotten a full clear most of the time, and really not an opponent that you want to mess with, to be honest. But it's a fitting finals opponent, certainly. And then finally, the thing that this stat sheet doesn't show is at the very bottom right, you see that my opponent has gotten into Kyber, rank 3000. I know a lot of people have been asking about that and how I can tell if someone has been in Kyber or not before. That's how you find out. So go look. Many of your opponents will probably surprise you. After doing some scouting, I knew that my opponent would most likely just keep the same defenses as they had in the past, which meant that no Darth Revan would be on defense, which is great. I put my own Darth Revan on defense. I actually kept my defenses the same as last time, mostly because I didn't have time to figure out new defensive schemes, and I will absolutely be doing that next time, as you guys will see later. They're not as effective as I would hope for, I suppose, especially against an opponent of this caliber. So alright, so we're trying to clear the bottom zone as usual, just so that we know all the different teams that we need to counter later. And the first team that was pretty obvious to take out was the Karth, Mission, and Zalbar team. At this point, it's pretty established. I'm going to take my Thrawn and Krennic with Death Trooper squad here, just so that I can, minimize the number of teams that I need to be able to counter. This team is full of characters that I don't necessarily need or use, so pretty good candidate. And you'll see I passed the first turn over to Death Trooper from Thrawn just to throw my grenade, and that's just because the Mission in Zalbar and Karth, they were all pretty quick. They were modded really well. My opponent had better speed mods than my roster had, certainly, like I pointed out earlier. And so I passed the turn to Death Trooper just so that I could, throw his grenade and increase their cooldowns. And, that was the goal here. Otherwise I'm just trying to control the situation. Thrawn is getting kind of manhandled and shot to pieces. My character's got dazed a lot in this match. And so I'm just trying to keep everyone alive, frankly. They've got their team pretty well modded. And, I just need to make sure that I'm doing everything that I can to maximize my ability to win. So you see the Death Trooper used his basic attack there. I think that was foolish. In fact, I think I should have just used the Thrawn leadership extra or special move, and didn't do that, but hindsight, I suppose. And now that Karth is gone, we'll try to just, bide our time. I'm using Krennic's special, his second special, to be able to hit Mission and stun her as often as I can. And then eventually, I was saving my death marks for when Karth got killed. Once Karth is gone, then we just, we can go crazy. And, we put death mark onto Zalbar. He gets fractured 4 punches and dies immediately. And now we're just trying to drag the fight out as long as we can. Mission was actually oddly resilient in this mission. And you see I'm abusing the Thrawn special move, and it worked to an extent, but then she did eventually run out of life. So 51 banners, that's not my best showing. I probably could have gotten 52 or 53 if I hadn't been messing around so much. And that's kind of a theme in this Grand Arena Championship match, and that I have something going on in real life, which I'm going to decline talking about right now, but, I was distracted by that this entire match, and, that doesn't excuse sloppiness. I don't mean to, say that, oh, just because I have some things going on, that everything is okay, or, that being sloppy is okay, and everything. I don't mean that, but, I just by way of explanation, if you guys see a few questionable decisions, please don't judge me too hard. Or if you do, just don't, stay quiet about it, please. So you see that with my Jedi Knight Revan team, I decided I wanted to save my mark for when Grievous finally came out of hiding, just because there's no reason to have to take out Magna Guard or B1, and Magna Guard was going to be really tough to take out anyway, so instead I was just hitting B1, trying to reduce his stack so he doesn't heal as much. And, Magna Guard was really slow, so he wasn't taking a bunch of turns. And, I got a bunch of stacks off of B1. And then eventually Grievous came out of hiding, and I was able to mark him. And now we're just going crazy on him. So, I think that probably this isn't the best General Grievous comp, just because I can immediately target Grievous once he's out of stealth. And I think this is actually the comp that I'm personally running. So, note to self, I need to change that as well. And actually B1 goes great on Newt squads, apparently. So I'll make that change. Anyways, we got rid of Grievous, and now we're just hanging out, waiting until the other characters get killed as well. There's no real threat to this team anymore. And this was actually a really strong team. I wasn't super impressed with the composition, but in terms of like relics and mods and everything, my opponent was spot on. As I'll note multiple times, I'm sure. Like, they had a very strong roster, a really strong mod game. Really knew what they were doing. So, we're just trying to take out Magna Guard with a minimum of damage, and he did his AoE, but I had foresight on everything, so 53 banners against a pretty high relic General Grievous squad. Happy enough with that, with my pretty standard counter. And then finally I had this Shock T squad with Echo and Fives, and I don't really know if my opponent had scouted me in advance and saw my tendencies to be trying my Malak solo against clones with Shock T or something, but one way or another, this squad was in the front, and I think it was kind of a trap squad for Malak, honestly. Whether it was intentional from my opponent or not, my opponent definitely had a squad that would probably end up beating Malak. That does happen every once in a while, and that happens when you have a bunch of really high relics, and then their Fives was modded completely with defense and protection. Like that means arrow, cross, circle, triangle, all these different shapes, which I'm sure you guys are impressed with my knowledge of. I know that at least my 1-year-old is impressed by it. My 5-year-old is no longer, but anyways, he's just modded like crazy for defense and protection, and he's at a really high relic level, really hard to take out. And the problem is, if you take Malak against this squad, that if he has a huge amount of protection, Malak is only doing damage based on max health. And so if Fives only has like 50,000 health or something like that, I'm just making that up right now, I'm not going to look, but if he only has 50,000 health but 100,000 protection, when Malak does his force drain, then it's only going to take about 50% of Fives' protection, and that normally wouldn't be a problem, except Shock T helps Fives regenerate his protection as well, and that means that the possibility exists that they can hold Malak off until they're able to just take him out, and that does happen. I've seen a couple videos recently of clones being able to take out Malak, and I just decided I didn't need that. Based on the scouting report, my opponent had not placed a ton of, they were pretty potent squads on defense, but I could spare Padme, and so that's what I did. 52 banners there, just take out Shock T first, and then the other clones. It doesn't really matter. I decided to take out Fives first because I have stacks of courage, and it worked out fine. So, in the back, there weren't any super hard squads, but they're all pretty strong. Like, none of them are pushovers. And so the next squad I needed to face was Django squad with Nest and with Boba, and the issue is with Django they're all getting plus 30 speed, and so you can see Enfys Nest speed is 315 before the speed boost, so that's 345, which is a really fast, like that's faster than my Darth Revan, really fast. And then a Django was also 330, and then Boba was like only like 315 or something, so really fast. And I didn't know for a while. I was thinking maybe I'd take Jedi Training Rey, just because even with those crazy speeds, with the BB-8, mechanics, I would still be able to go first with her. However, this team is going to hit incredibly hard, and so I decided eventually to, after an intervention from my friend End All Be All, he said that wouldn't work, and I mostly believed him. I didn't want to, frankly. I wanted to use Jedi Training Rey there and save my bounty hunters for something else. But instead, I did take my bounty hunters. You see that they all went first, and they've done some damage. They definitely got the first hits. But one saving grace that I have going on is, my characters can just one-shot these bounty hunters. I do have Django's unique Zeta, which means that he prevents revives to whoever he hits, and so the bounty hunters normally can just stand back up after they're taken out, because the bounty hunters resolve, and then Django will eventually just like one-shot a character and be able to, he'll get his full health and protection back. And so the thing is, if with the unique on Django, you can just prevent that. And one other saving grace is the fact that their Nest does not have a lot of tenacity. She has some, but for the most part, it's not there, just because she's got all of those speed mods on. And so eventually I was sad to see that Boba died at the very end, but still I got max health and protection, and I was happy enough that I actually took a screenshot, as you see, that I'm just not going to edit it out because I'm lazy like that. But 51 banners is actually a pretty good result anyways. So that was the big problem team, and now we're just going down through the list of all the different teams that I see as issues. The next is going to be a General Skywalker team, and I looked for a little bit. The squad isn't super hard, but I decided, the only team I had that could probably take it out with any kind of degree of certainty was my Commander Luke team, and that it seems like overkill. Like they're significantly stronger than this. Like they could probably take out a lot of stronger teams, but we just need to make sure that we do it. And I wasn't sure how the team was going to do if I substituted the leader or something. And so here we are. Just use Commander Luke, you knock him down, and this is such a simple counter, really. You knock him down, and then he hops back up, he does his AoE, and then you kill him on counters. So simple enough. We got that squad out of the way. And now we need to take out this Relic 3 Geonosian squad, and the difference in this squad is, that my opponent is not taking Soldier, they're taking Sunfac instead. So the composition is Geonosian Brood Alpha and Spy and Sunfac. And Sunfac does a lot of interesting things on this squad. I think, honestly, I like Sunfac a little bit better than Spy here, as long as he's equally geared. And that's just because Sunfac has a huge health and protection pool that Soldier doesn't, and in a 3v3 setting, that's going to be huge, having that extra health and protection. In addition, whenever you hit Sunfac, then they can dispel. They have counter, and then they have dispel on basic. So Sunfac is a great character. Honestly, he's really fun, and now that Separatists are good again, a really fun character. I think that he's wonderful in a Geonosian squad. Now you see that I put Isolate onto the Brute, and Brute is the right one to put it on if you can, just because then he's not going to be constantly taunting and making you annoyed. And then also, if you put the Isolate on someone else, then the Brood Alpha will eventually just, usually that's who you put it on, is the Brood Alpha. Then the Brood Alpha, even with Isolate, is going to respawn brutes as you kill them, and then the new Brute will have full health and protection and add that to their health pool every time he gets respawned. So you want to avoid that. If you can, you want to take out Spy first, and then the most awkward part in 3v3 is once you've taken out the other two supporting Geonosians, you're trying to take out Brood Alpha, who's constantly trying to heal himself, trying to do his stuff, and all of his various shenanigans. And he's tough to kill just because his health pool is big, and then he's not attacking out of turn, so he's not actually losing health and protection from that. But it's not really that big of a deal. So dealt with them. Now we really need to focus on the top squads here. We want to be able to get back to ships, of course. That's one of the win conditions. And, we're going to take Jedi Training Ray against this, moderately scary Newt with Dooku and B2 squad. And the first thing you want to do is get days off on Dooku, just so that he's not countering every time you do something to him. This is another squad that was so fast. Newt and Dooku are just ridiculously fast. And, you want to take out Dooku, but you can't necessarily hit him before you take out B2, because if you hit Dooku, then B2 is going to be getting a ton of turns. So the best you can really do is just try to keep him in timeout, basically, with mind tricks and stuns if you can. And one thing that I think my opponent kind of missed on this defense was their B2 doesn't have a crit avoid arrow. And, the crit avoid arrow would have caused me a lot more problems with Jedi Training Ray, just because if I don't get crits on B2, then I'm not going to get exposes, and exposes are everything. You really just need a lot of exposes on this team if you can get them. So, anyways, I wasn't really sure how this squad would do, frankly. There was a lot of question marks regarding that, and moving into this match. And so I was happy that I was finally able to get Newt alone. And once you get Newt alone, if you have your full squad, you're probably home free. But once again, it's just really hard to take full banners against a Newt squad. If you hit him and take him out as the last character, if you kill him first, or if you kill him last, then he's going to come back and immediately get an extra turn, which means he's going to extort someone, and that does damage, and then you kill him because he's so squishy, and he's the only one left, and you're left with less than max banners. So I was happy enough with 52 against a pretty strong squad, a really, really fast squad, and now all I have left is a Bosk team and a really tough Asajj with Daka team. So taking out the Night Sisters next. This is a really great timeout team, and the squad that I want to use here is my First Order with Watt. One of the problems against this squad is they will time you out if you're not careful. You have to kill you have to kill Daka and Asajj 2 different times, and then Zombie revives him each time, and then you have to kill him a 3rd time. And if you try to kill Asajj next, then old Daka will just revive her. And if you kill old Daka first, she's just really hard to kill just because she has 100,000 or more health. So she has that huge health pool. And after having killed Zombie a couple times, she has her Zeta. And so old Daka is also able to, if she adds to her health pool every time. So if she has 100,000 health, then after killing Zombie a couple times and Asajj a couple times, she could easily be at 150,000 health or even more. So I'm speeding up this fight. I decided to try something maybe a little bit foolhardy. I took out Asajj first, and I guess I should explain the premise of this squad just for those who are kind of uninitiated to the squad. So we're taking Watt. We put the weapons tech onto Fox, and the taunting tech onto Kylo Ren, and Kylo Ren is just going to perma-taunt, and so that leaves Fox to do his thing. Once you kill someone with Fox, if it's not Zombie or have a character with some kind of special mechanics, then you can use Fox to just one-shot characters, and they aren't going to be able to revive. And so, I did that relatively quickly with Asajj, and that was great. And I decided what I wanted to do, I only needed to kill Daka one more time. So what I figured was, if I could just kill Zombie enough times, you see those stacks above her head, with the undispellable buff, that makes her faster. If you can kill Zombie fast enough and enough times, then, she'll go into -2 on that buff. And once she gets to that point, then she's not going to be able to take a turn, and therefore she's not going to stun, or rather taunt. And once she isn't able to taunt, then she's going to, then I can just have a free shot at Daka. And in theory that works. However, that buff also increases her speed by a huge margin, and my opponent put a ton of speed mods on stupid Zombie. which meant the zombie was somewhere around the 500 speed range, something like that, like 260 base, and the buff like doubled it, so really crazy. And eventually I just decided to take out old Daka. I was running out of time, so 53 banners definitely made it harder than it should have been. I think that in theory the idea was good, but I just couldn't get past that crazy speed plus the Asajj leadership buff. So anyways, was able to do that. Now there were only 3 squads left, and it was going to be relatively simple. I still had Nest left, I still had Malak, and then I had an Emperor Palpatine team with Darth Nihilus and Vader, and so, it was going to be really simple. I was going to put Nest against the timeout tanks, Malak was going to solo Darth Maul and that group, and then Nest was going, or rather, Emperor Palpatine was going to take out the Bosk team. And eventually, there wasn't anything that scary about it, and Nihilus would eventually just take them all out, and so I was going to get a one-shot win on everything except for maybe ships, because who knows about the Negotiator Mirror, and what ends up following is maybe one of the most frustrating things that I've ever had happen to me in Grand Arena. So I'm going in to take out this Bosk team with my Emperor Palpatine, and the game asks if I'm sure if I want to solo it with Malak. I'm like, yeah, of course. And then I jump in, and I apparently was going to solo Bosk with Malak, and I would never do that. It seems like the next most foolish thing in the world, just because Bosk is going to be getting a ton of turns because he's going to put his big buff up, and that the frenzy is going to mean every time that someone takes a turn, with a special, then he's going to take a bonus turn, and so he's going to be getting his special a ton of times, and so he'll never die because he'll just keep regenerating his health and protection. Dengar will never die because he's constantly in stealth, and so it's just a fool's errand here, and this is not a good look at all. This was not the intent. The intent was to have Malak jump in and kill, hopefully evade the Sith Marauder special throws, which, that does a lot of damage, but I figured he would probably be fine against them. And, I hadn't decided yet if I was going to take Savage there as, with him as well to be able to help counter the Maul team. And, if I had, I think I would have been fine. But at the end, you just can't account for just making stupid mistakes like this. So, I just jumped in with the wrong squad, and, I eventually was able to take out Greedo. And after that, we're going to even fast forward more. If you noticed, we're going at 200% speed. We're going to go even faster here, though, because it has nothing going on at all. Just trying to kill Bosk or Dengar, and nothing happens, and they just regenerate, and it stunned me, and it's not a good situation. Not my favorite thing that I've ever done, certainly. So, we're just waiting to time out. I figured I'd just let it time out. I wanted to make sure that I at least saved my progress against Greedo, because Greedo can go crazy, and it's nice to have him out at least. And so there wasn't anything I could really do. That team is still tough to take out. I guess maybe I could have tried Machine Gun Leia, but there was no guarantee that would actually work. Decided to just throw in my Palpatine team with Nihilus anyways. And, I'm fast forwarding this just a tiny bit because this is a pretty standard thing. We're just waiting for Annihilate, hide the Nihilus, even though we don't have a tank. We're just trying to get enough debuffs dispelled and everything to get enough turn meter. And, Nihilus will eventually just annihilate one of them, and then the other two won't have enough DPS to actually be able to take out Dengar. And so we'll just continue to try to wait until Annihilus gets Annihilate again, and we'll just rinse and repeat. So you'll notice they're only targeting Vader. Other than Dengar's AoE, they're only hitting Vader, which is frustrating. Was I going to actually lose Vader as well? I'd already dropped 20 banners. Was I going to drop more just because Vader kept getting targeted? And Dengar's regenerating all of his health and protection and everything. Nihilus is taking a long time to get his turn, and it's like, can you please just target someone else? And eventually I just took out Dengar without Annihilate, which is great, I suppose, but frustrating turn of events. And anyways, I beat that squad. I saw my opponent had put Negotiator up like I had expected due to their battle logs. And so I just jumped into squad here once again, and I didn't really know what to take this Maul team out with. So I did throw in Enfys Nest against the timeout team because it can be a really frustrating squad if you're not able to ignore taunt, or if you don't have a huge amount of damage per second. And so we're just trying to take out Vander Chewbacca first. I decided that after I had failed that attack previously against Bosk unintentionally, I needed as many banners as I could get, so I decided to throw Nest in here without Kira, which honestly I don't really know why I did that. Like, I probably would have gotten 55 one way or another because Nest doesn't have full protection, but at the same time, like, if I'd taken Kira with me, I probably would have had full protection on both of them with 55 one way or another. So pretty easy solo there. That wasn't a challenge. And then now we're just trying to find a way to be able to take out this Darth Maul team. And I have a bunch of dregs, and I saw that I still had Kylo Ren, the original Kylo Ren, and I was like, oh, I'll just take Hux and First Order Stormtrooper and original Kylo Ren, and I'll just be good to go. Like, they have a huge amount of offense, probably just be able to gun them down. This is only a Gear 12 team except for Marauder, and he's pretty squishy, so I should just be able to do pretty good. And Hux is going to disallow all kinds of turn meter shenanigans, and so this is going to be great. And what I discovered was that Hux at 3 stars, even though he's Gear 12 because of CG's little fiasco with the gear thing, he's just really squishy, and he has no way to really regenerate his health at all in a 3v3, at least in this 3v3 setting. I was kind of envisioning Kylo Ren's leadership along with him, Kylo Ren Unmasked, who lets them regenerate their health and protection, and that's just not the case. Like, they just don't regain their health and protection nearly as much. And so this was my bad, and now Hux is gone, so now all the bonus turn meter that they can get is suddenly available now. So we did manage to take out Maul, but then I just, for some reason, like, I didn't realize that Marauder was going to hit quite as hard, and I missed every single time I tried to do a big hit on him. Every single time. Like, that. People who say that they miss the old, like, Maul meta with, the dodge meta, basically, they say that they miss that. Like, I don't understand them, on any level. It's just so frustrating. You miss all these critical hits, and I could have stunned him. I honestly think if I had gotten one stun off on Marauder, I probably would have won this match. But clearly not in the cards, so really frustrating that I wasn't able to finish the job. And now I need to dig deep here and find a way to be able to beat this squad. It doesn't have a leader yet, or still, which is great. I just wasn't sure what I could use, so I decided to throw troopers in here. And I do have a Dispel with Stark here with his AoE. I decided to go for his buffs first, just so I could gain some turn meter and get the turn meter train a little bit going. And if I could take out the trooper, who's not dodging anymore because he doesn't have a leadership from Maul, then I could hopefully take out Marauder. So we're just trying to take him out. He's doing a ton of damage, and of course they're just focusing on one character once again. And luckily he hit Stark there at the end instead of Veers, because Veers would have just gone down like a chump, and eventually was able to drag him down. So 32 banners, I mean, that's fine. I guess I got the clear on the squad. So still really frustrating. So I've lost 2 squads now that I probably shouldn't have. I mean, I'm not trying to blame anyone but myself. It was unfortunate, but it's still clearly my fault. So not trying to say like I just got unlucky. Definitely just user error with attacking the wrong team with the wrong squad, and I'm paying the price for it now. So this ship zone, actually, this ship fight went a little bit different than usual. I was able to actually get Houndstooth out of the way really fast, and then they killed Ahsoka, which, and then I killed Jedi Anakin. Like, all of this before my opponent's negotiator could go and put the buff on, just because I kept doing so much damage that Anakin kept getting turns, and then he got rid of his own starting buff that kept him alive, so I was just able to take him out. But then they killed Ahsoka, which, like, none of those things happen ever. Like, I never kill Houndstooth first, or maybe I killed Houndstooth first, but not that quick. And then I never kill Jedi Anakin right away, and then in turn I never lose Ahsoka right after that. So I was kind of out of sorts. I brought Plo in just to heal. I was like, oh, I can just take out Ahsoka and I'll win. This will be great, so I took Plo in just to heal myself up a little bit, and clearly not what happened. He was able to get an AoE off of me, and I got 56 banners. So, pretty frustrating set of events there, but at least I got the first shot win, and I got a pretty low banner total. Honestly, this was pretty bad. My opponent was going to need to fail at least 2 times, probably 3, for me to be able to recoup this into a win. And honestly, my opponent did fail. Their first attack is really promising, but then after that they one-shot all my teams, and they didn't get a great banner total, but at the same time, it was enough to beat me. So really frustrating. I beat myself there. If I had just gone with the plan, I would have gotten in the 50s-ish range and would have been able to get the win. But my opponent absolutely deserved to win. I made that huge error that deserves a loss, or at least it deserves to give him an advantage, and he took advantage of it. He's a great player anyways, great offensive player, lots of really good teams on defense. So you can see all my defenses here. My one squad in the front with Night Sisters was able to time his first order out, which is great. But otherwise, just everything else just failed. So gonna have to revamp my defenses. Really frustrated with this loss, obviously. It's only my fault, though. I'm, like I said, I've been a little bit distracted by other real-life things going on, which is it's still not an excuse. So hopefully you guys will get better from me next. I ended up with rank number 4. so that was kind of funny. You play in the finals, and then you get the lowest rank possible after that. Wonderful, but I did get a Zeta mat, which is good, and I have a lot of really fun teams planned for our next episode, our next week. I have a new Grievous counter, for instance, so we'll see what happens there. Anyways, guys, I thank you guys so much for watching this fiasco, and remember that in all things, Xaereth prevails, even when it's a fiasco.